Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. I love the pretty flowers on your top or your dress.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just the top, but thank you.
Nice, nice. You see,
Yes,
they made us change our name in our graduation ceremony this morning to Coach Julie Little.
I just saw that and I was feeling very impressed to see that. I love it. Is
They
this
said,
in
"Okay, everybody, all at once, right now, go change your name."
nice? Was that in the Vision thing? Visions
It-
thing, or is that
yeah,
in that?
Visions.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's actually EverCoach is run by Ajit, and he might in India, and it might have been pronounced Ajit, but people say Ajit, and he's the head of EverCoach. He used to run Mind
Oh,
Valley, and he was the one in charge today for the graduation.
oh nice. You officially graduated then.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Congratulations.
thank you.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it felt like it was, and then I see this stuff about the strawberry moon.
Yes.
And then I had a healing call that was also a sales kind of thing from Christian Michelson today. He did a whole long meditation and group healing for 150 of us because it was he's advertising for his Instant Miracle Mastery 2 in October. So
Okay.
he was like getting everybody on, and then he did this stuff, and then he explained about the program. There's Lee.
Wow. Here's Lee. Yay.
So it seems like a go 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 kind of day.
It does seem like that. Yeah. That's good though. Go, go,
Yeah,
go equals good, good, good.
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wait till Lee hops on here and then we'll get into it. It is my sincere hope that, hi, Lee. I'm
Just,
so
I'll
glad
be
you could
there in
make
just a
it.
second. I'm just getting
Okay.
myself set up.
We got you. We got you. Yeah. It's my sincere intention that today will be short. Like when I say short, like it's probably not going to be less than 30 minutes, but like maybe 40 minutes, something like that. Um, so maybe people don't think that's short, but compared to how some of our calls have been lately, it's pretty short.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was tentative on whether I was going to do something today for a couple of reasons, which I don't think I have to go into. But at the end of was it the end of last week? Yeah, I sort of I want to plant a seed today. That's really what I want to do. And I'm saying it like that because I am still working on this concept myself. Okay. I know it's a truth because it has come across my path many times in the past, but I haven't spent a lot of time with it, to be honest. And it just came across my path again at the end of last week in like a more intense way. And it just, the timing was perfect. And I thought I need to just share this today because it perfectly fits in with abundance and what we're doing in this course and manifestation. And we had the open time. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to plant the seed and see what your truth could be around it. See what ideas may come to you around this idea in your life and what you're trying to accomplish. So that's really what this is. It's and I've also, just so you know, I've asked God, source, universe to really help me out here and partner with me today. I mean, I do that all the time, but like I've especially asked to please guide me, okay? Because I feel like I feel like I download most of the like articles and trainings, but we also have a plan and we like marry the two together, which I think is the beautiful, that's co-creation at its best. But today it was less me having a plan and more yielding and surrendering. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. So what we're talking about today, what this idea is and this is not like, I'm sure you've heard this many times. Like this is not like some, oh my God, I never heard of this before. But when we want something, well, first of all, this idea I've talked about many times. This first part of the idea, to lay out the second part, is that everything you want, there is a truth that everything you want is already here. If you can register that you have a desire, then the way for that to happen, it must be here. Like it comes with the desire. It's the same with problems. You can't have a problem without the solution being a part of it. This is what the law of polarity says, and we live in a dualistic universe here. I don't think all universes are like this if you believe in multi-universes, but this one is. So you can't, so if you've got a problem, there is a solution. If you are experiencing scarcity, there's also abundance. So it comes as a whole. Everything is whole and complete. So if you think about that, and you think about whatever the thing is that you want, and you all had an intention. We came into this course, there was a specific reason or reasons why you signed up for it. There's something that you want to create, accomplish, or solve, or maybe all of those things, that this course felt like an answer to you. And so you came into it with this intention. So you have that intention. And for you to even want, so if you're solving a problem, there's two reasons why people take action. It's either they're trying to get somewhere they want to go, or they're trying to get away from something that they don't like, right? But if we look at that, even if you're trying to get away from something you don't like, it's because there is an opposite that you do want from that, right? So it depends on how you decide to look at it. So, like they say in marketing, sell people what they want, but give them what they need, So, but there's this thing that there's always, even if there's a problem, it's because there's something we want. If we're experiencing health issues, we want wellness. There's always that positive side of whatever the issue is. So you all have your thing, and just, call that to mind for a second. What is, and then maybe it's changed. We've been here for 5 months, so it's possible that what you originally wanted, maybe it has morphed a little bit. So just in your mind right now, whatever is the most present thing that you desire that is connected. I mean, it could be connected to anything. It doesn't have to be connected to this course. Just bring that into your mind for a second. And we're going to come back to it, but just have that there. Because if we go with this truth that everything we want that we're not currently experiencing is already here, if we can feel the sensation of wanting it, which that's not me making that up. I didn't just hear it from one coach. It is like, this is written in ancient texts, this idea, this truth. Okay. So if that's true, how do we manifest it, bring it into our current physical reality so that we can perceive it more fully, because it's one thing to perceive it in our mind's eye, but how do we actually perceive it in our life circumstances? And that's really like what all programs like this are trying to help you do, like, trying to help you bring it into your life, bring it into your experience. So if we can accept that it's true, that it is here now, then this is where for such a long time, I had been stuck, on and off through the years with certain things I wanted. Like, okay, I can get my head around the fact that I believe that on some level it's here because I'm tuning into it, meaning I'm resonating with it. My vibration can connect with it enough so that I can feel it. How do I make that show up in my reality? And honestly, that was something that I really, really struggled with for like most of my life. I could do it with some things, but not always effectively, and not very often with money. There's something different about money. So in my mind. So the piece that I want to add, the little seed I want to drop, is that you have to take ownership of it. You really have to own it. And when I think about things that I have accomplished in my life in the past, things like dreams I had and I wanted to do, when I think about how I approached those things differently than the things that I, would never seem to be able to get rolling for myself, I realized that I did take ownership of it. For example, and I know I told you this story before, but like when I decided, this was back in, I don't know, 2010 maybe, I just decided, oh, I want to be a professional speaker, like a paid speaker. So, I had started my business and I just thought I want to be able to say I'm a speaker, not just online, but I wanted to be go to places with live audiences. I wanted to be paid, and I wanted to call myself a speaker and have people seek me out. And so that was a distinct, firm decision that I made. I didn't say, oh, it'd be great if I could be a speaker. How do I do that? I said, I'm a speaker now. I'm going to be a speaker. I'm like, that's my intention. I'm a speaker. And there was no like, as long as, or if, or there was none of that came after it. So I decided, and the minute I decided I'm going to be a speaker, I'm like, okay, if that's true, like, what do I need to do next? And this is when I ended up hoofing it on the streets of Chicago with my little flyer that I made. And I went to the library first and I said, I need a space. And I wanted a free space. So I got my space and I went hoofing it on all to all the businesses where I know they bring in parents, because this is when I was speaking primarily to parents, and asking for giving my flyers and start talking to some of the business owners, because it was all small businesses. And then, all of a sudden someone says, well, I think I was asking for, I don't know what I was asking for, but one of the business owners said, oh, well, can I provide a gift that you can give out to people? And so then that spurred the idea of, oh, I can make gift bags and do raffles. And then I got the idea, oh, I'll ask for sponsorships from businesses. And so all of a sudden I like brought in like a week, like $800 for this free speaking gig I was doing from sponsors. And I even had a school call me out of the blue who I hadn't contacted and wanted to sponsor me or sponsor my event, not me, but sponsor the event. So anyways, all of this to say that once I owned that I'm a speaker, I really owned it. It was like I was propelled on a path to do all the things. And even though like each step was scary, I was scared to walk into every single business I walked in, by the way, like scared. I'm an introvert. It's not easy for me to just go up and talk to people. It's like usually people need to come up and talk to me because I'm kind of shy at first. I don't open up a lot. So this was not easy for me to do. So, but I did it because, I'm a speaker. That's what a speaker does. I'm going to do that. So it's about taking ownership of that desire before, like I wasn't a speaker yet. Like that wasn't true. I took ownership of it before I saw it show up. And so I took responsibility in that moment of saying, this is what I want. I am now a speaker, and I took responsibility for what that means, that I'm going to be a speaker. That's when suddenly I was a speaker. And I got to the point where someone would pay me $1,500 to $2,000 to speak. And people were calling me up to speak. That, like, I still look back at that and like, how did that happen? Well, it's because I merged with what I wanted. And by merged, I mean, I took the ownership. It was an energetic, like, this is who I am now. It's almost like I stepped out of where I was in my life and I stepped into something newer. It's almost like I made like almost a shifted into a different universe, a little, like slightly, where everything's almost all the same, except there's this one different thing. So it's so that's very woo woo. I get that this sounds very woo woo. So it's really about, and this is the seed I'm trying to plant now, to bring in what you want, you must become it. You must become it before it shows up. And I've done this with the weather. It's actually really easy for me to do it with the weather now when I'm intentional about it. I control the weather when I want to. Sometimes when there's storms and stuff, people are like, Jill, why didn't you control the weather? I'm like, I put no intention out there and no decision to do it that day. I didn't care. I had no, dog in the race for that one or whatever. But when I do, I now know how to merge with the weather. I know that sounds crazy, to have it be the way I want it to. Okay. And there's a little secret that has that working. And I'll tell you that when we get down near the end of this today. But the idea is merging with what you want. And the experience I had last week, I'm going to tell you about this experience after we do this visualization, because I want to just see what comes up for you. This will help plant the seed of this idea, like, what would this look like for me, type of thing. And then I want to share just very briefly, I'm not going to go through all the details, but I'll share the highlights of what I discovered after we see what you discover. And then I'll share that little secret that seems to make it work. Okay. So, and the reason why I think this fits in perfectly with what we've been talking about here in this, the voice of money, is the last 2 weeks we've really been talking about lack versus abundance. And this, I think, is at least what I'm feeling into, is the bridge. It's the bridge to move, because lack and abundance are one and the same. We're just, as they're two extremes of the same thing. And I feel like this becoming what you want, it's tuning in, it's you have the thing, it's here, you can't see it. And as you tune into it energetically, you have the inspirations, you start doing the things that put you on that path where it can't not happen. So let's do this visualization. And this is a journaling visualization. So there will be 3, maybe 4 questions that I'll ask you to journal on. We want to just capture whatever's coming up for you as we go through it. And if you're hearing me talk now and you're thinking, she's crazy, or if you're thinking, whatever you're thinking, or if you're like, I don't really get what she's talking about, just go with it. Just go with the visualization. Just allow yourself to be open, and just, even if it's a quiet meditation time for you, that's perfect too. So just allow this to be whatever it needs to be for you, and allow whatever needs to become aware to you, to come into your consciousness. Just let that happen. Okay. All right. So just go ahead and, get comfortable in your chair, and just, start to notice your breath. And as we get started here, you might want to close your eyes just to kind of get into this present moment, space and time. Just breathing in deeply, letting go of anything that's still hanging on to you from the day or the day before, just kind of letting it roll out with each exhale. Go ahead and take another breath. Breathing in, allowing all of that vibrancy to flow in, that vibrant light, that life-giving air to just flow in and awaken all of your cells. And exhaling out anything that just doesn't serve you, any blocks, any stuck places, just cleaning it all out with each exhale. Go ahead and take another breath in, just one more cleansing breath. Just clearing out the cobwebs, clearing out anything that is stressful or worrisome or any other negative emotion you're feeling. Just let it go now. You don't need it right now. And I'd like you to breathe in the light. Imagine that you see this glowing, beautiful, sparkling ball of light. And it's circling around your heart space. This beautiful ball of light. And every time you inhale, that ball of light expands. It's a little bit bigger. Takes up more space in your body. And then exhale, and every time you exhale, it gets even bigger. So with each inhale, just see this swirling ball of light grow, getting larger, taking up more space. And as you exhale, the ball of light's getting even bigger, even bigger. And as you continue to breathe, just allow this light to encapsulate you, just to completely surround you with its peaceful, loving presence. It's like it's wrapping you up in this safe, secure blanket of light where you are completely protected, calm, peaceful, loving. And as this light encapsulates you, see yourself growing larger with the light. As the light grows, you grow. As you grow, the light grows. So just visualize yourself getting larger, larger and taking up more space. And just continue breathing, becoming larger in your body, larger in the light, taking up more space with this loving light and your loving heart. And now bring back into your mind something that you deeply desire. Bring that to your mind, see that in your mind's eye. And I'd like you to notice how you currently feel in relation to that thing. And it doesn't matter if that thing is a physical thing. It doesn't matter if it's a state of being. Whatever it is, see it in front of you. See and feel the desire. And notice anything that comes up. Notice the separation, this perceived separation between you and what you want. Really allow yourself to see that gap. And the question I'd like you to journal on first is, what do you perceive is keeping you from the thing that you want? What is keeping you from stepping into the gap? And just write down anything that occurs to you. What is keeping you from that thing you want? It's keeping you from stepping into that gap. And if you're not getting anything specific, you might be having a memory come up. Whatever's coming up in response to these questions, just write it down. Whatever you're noticing. just wrap up any last thoughts for now. You can always come back to this later. And now consider the idea of stepping into that thing that you want, of merging with it. You can visualize that your light is growing bigger, that you are growing bigger, and that you are merging with the thing. And you might even be able to sense or visualize your energy become very fluid, and your light becoming fluid and merging with the thing. So see if you can tune into just that merging of your energy with the energy of what you want. And as you're doing that, what's coming up for you? Write down anything that is popping up. It could be something that feels positive. It could be something that feels like a fear. Anything that's coming to you, just write that down. All right, so we're just going to take the last minute to get those thoughts out on the paper. And I'm going to ask you to just give me some feedback, not verbally, but the answer yes is a thumbs up and the answer no is a thumbs down. Okay, or you can nod yes or no. With that second question about what's coming up for you with the idea of merging it, did any fears come up? Yeah. Anything that you'd consider a fear? No. All positive, Julie, for you? Okay. All right. If you had a fear, and we had people that had a fear, what I want to suggest to you is that any fears that may have come up, the fears are like this invisible protective box around you. So as you sit in your golden protective light, in your expanded version of yourself, contemplating stepping into that gap between you and what you want, see if you can envision that your fears are like a box. They're keeping you from what you want. Just see if you can just feel into this idea that it's kind of like a box. It's a protection. The fears are like a protection. And what I want to share is that you have a choice with anything that you desire. And the choice really is, do you want to keep the box around you? Or do you want to expand beyond the box and merge with the thing you want? In other words, you would see yourself get larger than the box, almost like you're growing out of the box. So I'd like you to ask yourself, if I were to grow out of this box that I have myself in, and if you didn't feel any fear around merging with what you want, or any doubts or any negativity, then I'm going to ask this in two different ways, okay? So if you had a fear or a negativity, what steps do you need to take, or what do you need to do first, or what needs to be solved for you to move beyond the fear so that you can choose to step out of your protective box? So just jot down whatever's coming up for you if you had any fears or negative thoughts. And if you only had positive thoughts about merging with the box, then similarly, I would ask you, what are the most immediate and first steps you need to take in the physical to be able to put the merging energetically into practice physically? So physically in your life, what steps are coming to you now that you really need to take to bring it into this physical reality? Okay, so what steps to move beyond the fear? What steps to really move into this gap between you and what you want? Just go ahead and write down anything that is becoming apparent to you right now. So just take another minute, one more minute, get down any last thoughts that are coming up. All right. So I've talked about the box before. And when it does not seem like we're creating what we want, when we feel stuck, when we keep settling for less than we really want, we are keeping ourselves in a protective, we're protecting ourselves. And what are we protecting ourselves from? It really is the unknown. Like it's really, we don't know what's out there. We know what's in here. And whether we like what's in here in our box or we don't, on some level it's comfortable. And to expand beyond that is not comfortable. The idea is not that comfortable. Even if it feels really great, the things we have to do may not feel that comfortable. But what I want to share is that as you allow yourself to own what you want, to merge with what you want, and to start seeing yourself as, bigger than what you want. Because what we want is typically feels so big compared to what we currently have. So when you start to expand your energy to merge with that thing that you want, what you will notice, and I know you've all done this many times with everything else you've gotten in your life, what you will notice is that uncertainty, that fear, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. The more you step into it, the smaller it is and the bigger you are. And that's expansion. And all of life is about expansion. If we are not growing, we are dying because everything is growing. And if you are staying the same, you're actually getting smaller. You are not staying the same because everything else is growing. So expansion is our natural way. And to move beyond fear is to expand. And there will always be new fears. And then you expand further. But when people, there's a common misconception that people have that when's it going to get easier? When am I going to be like, when is it really just going to flow and feel easy? The reality is it's not like that. You become more comfortable until it's time to grow again. So it's just that the fear gets smaller. The fear is smaller. Your comfort zone is bigger. And then you become aware of the next thing that you want. But nobody came here for ease and comfort. We came here to grow. We came here to share who we are. We came here to make the most of who we are. And to make the most of who you are means you continue to grow bigger than the current space you're occupying. And share that. So just wrapping this up. The inherent, like what created you, what you are, that spark in you desires expansion. It desires expansion all the time. And to be fully fulfilled is to allow that spark to do what it's meant to do, is to expand. And the only thing that stops that spark from expanding is that we make the fear greater than our desire to be as much as we can be. So this merging idea is, however it lands for you, there's something about allowing our energy to grow, to expand, and to step into it. So just take a breath. Just sit quietly for a moment in a quiet meditative space. Clearing your mind. Being present. And just knowing that you are this vast, vast light. So much light. And that light is abundance. And you are abundance. And anything you want is here, right now. And you only need to say yes to it, own it, and step into it. So just breathe it in. You can wiggle your fingers and toes if you want. Come fully back here now, and you can ask your energy to return to normal. Okay. So we must merge with the thing we want. We must become it and allow it to become us. And when this merging takes place energetically, it will become a reality physically. The physical always lags the energetic. Always. So any thoughts that anybody wants to share around this idea, or any insights that came to you, any questions that came to you?
I had something interesting come to mind, and it was kind of before you even asked the question. But my daughter's kind of texting me about her medical bill that just arrived, and I thought of my response to her, probably not out loud, but in my head anyway, is, "You can't expect me to work that hard." And then I thought, well, it isn't really me saying that to her, because I probably won't. It was saying it to me. You can't expect me to work that hard. I don't do that anymore. I'm, retired or 63 or whatever the reason is. That's asking a lot. And so I wrote that down when the question then after that came, as just kind of I think it was before you even asked. Yeah. And then what's keeping me from my desire, the question number one that came to my mind. And then I talked about this with somebody yesterday, that it was really hard for me to call people on the phone and tell them about the group that I'm starting this summer. And that I've done it before, and I already know that every time I have done it, I've put people in the group. But I had said, oh, but that just makes me cringe when you say that you need to get on the phone and start talking to people or text them or whatever. And then she said to me, well, but that's because you've been approaching it from the idea of an ask and not of a give. And so then I saw with your merge with it on part two, I step into the light and all of that, I merge with that light and that energy, then it just automatically, I saw what she was telling me clearer, that my light filling up like that is going to connect with the people who need the group. So it's not a sales or an ask or a want. It's like light touching light, which was a whole different thing, which went well with what you were talking about expansion. So I guess I've got to read through my notes again, but it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful, Julie. That's really beautiful. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Any other shares?
I can share.
Great.
I guess it's a little bit related. Last time you talked about our archetypes, right? Our money archetypes.
Yes.
So I got mine and read about it. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is, it's like I didn't want to hear it, but it's completely right. And, so I thought, okay, so what am I going to do about this now? And at first I'm like, oh, I don't know. But I've noticed since I read that, I've had a little bit of a different relationship with money this week.
Nice.
What happened? I'm trying to think. It's more like opening to a possibility that I could think differently about it. And this was it. So I signed up for another course. It's somebody who I have studied with before, and it's she does a lot. She bases on seasonal yoga, and so it has to do with meridians, and I mean everything you're talking about. It's these concepts, and what I'm bring together is the physical and the emotional, and the way she teaches and her movements too, to me, brings it together. And I started learning from her, and I did some other things, and now she's offering a thing, online, like with each season, and is a large amount of money. I mean, large. And I was thinking yesterday, I'm like, oh, and so now I want to do this, but my desire to do it, and she is also someone who I think is really merging with her desires now. I can see her changing, and so that energy is good for me to be around somebody who has that energy. And she talks about this too. So I'm like, it's a win-win. There's this energy. She's a friend, so I can talk to her about these things. And, it's this courses I can do at my own pace, which brings all of these concepts together, in many ways, even through, physically in the body. So I signed up for it. And I was just like, okay, I have the money right now. And then I'm like, okay, so look at my bank account. That's getting lower. So then I'm like, well, what am I going to do about this? And I thought, okay, I'm not going to worry about it. That's the first thing. And I'm not going to think, where's the money first? First, I have the money to pay her. So then I'm going to think, okay, throughout this year, the next couple of months, what could I do to maybe start filling it up a little bit more? And, there are a few things, I think that I could offer maybe and do, little things, it's not going to make the whole amount. But that was a big shift to think, so how can I start filling it up first? So that was one thing I was noticing. Okay, this is shifting a little bit here. And then I noticed, I had to pay some taxes more than I wanted to. It's just like, okay, but it's a currency. Somehow it's going to come back. So I'm having more of this belief that it's going to come back, put it out. And so to me, that's a little bit emerging with this desire, because money's part of it. The image that came to me when I think not the money part, but more of an emotional thing, is kind of this chasm. And can I actually reach my leg to the other side? Mm-hmm. And so that's where the fear comes in. And so what to do about it, when I wrote it down, what came up was my mindset is just keep visualizing this desire. And even if I don't take the steps yet, just keep coming back to whatever I'm desiring is already here.
Yes.
And to really just kind of sit in that until it becomes kind of a second nature thing, that I go to that. And then I think it'll be easier to have the courage to take the steps.
Yes.
But the first thing is really the mindset, because that's what's, getting in the way.
Yeah. It's always the mindset, right? It's how we perceive things. It's how we see it. Yeah.
And so, a thought that came to me, if we're really, we come from nature, we're part of nature. Nature doesn't have that mindset. We do.
Right.
And that's, even the, we're like nature, but that's the one thing that's different is our mind. And so if you can, clear the mind in whatever way you're doing, you're really in that flow because you're not, you're just expanding because that's, and we'll go back and forth always because we will always have a mind. But that's really where, for me, some of that teaching is, just look at nature. It doesn't have that mind that's holding her back.
Yep. We can learn a lot by looking at nature. Nature shows us exactly how it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right about the mind. It messes everything up, but it's also super powerful.
Exactly.
The mind is so, like, if we use it in the right way, instead
Exactly.
of in a dysfunctional way, I mean, we can create miracles. Like, that's how powerful we are. Yeah. Well, great share. Thank you. Love hearing this. I love that you had that shift, and that you're seeing more about possibilities rather than, oh no, I can't do this, can't do that, or, feeling, I'm not sure how you were feeling about money, but, if there's any constriction there, it's good to start. You can open it up by seeing a possibility.
And I'm doing what Julie said, turtle steps. I'm not expecting me to take big elephant steps. Turtle steps are fine,
Turtle steps are awesome. Turtles win the race. Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah.
Don't they win the race? Yeah. Turtles win. Yeah. They don't compare themselves to anybody either. And they get there when they get there, but they're always moving towards it. Yeah. I love it. Julie, were you going to say something? Oh no, she's typing. Okay. Keep on trucking. That's right. Keep on trucking. I love it. I love it. So the piece I wanted to share. So the little experience I had, it wasn't this visualization, but I was in a meditative state, and I don't remember what the question was, but I got my highest value is freedom, and what I most of the things I desire, there's an element of freedom. I feel that it will give me freedom, right? And time freedom to do what I want, when I want, how I want, and that sort of thing. So when I have desires, it's always about this freedom aspect for me. And so this idea about freedom came up, and I immediately saw myself in the ocean. And because truly, I am so, like, when we, twice a year, we go down to the ocean when we take my son to school and pick him up down in Florida. And so we'll spend some time at the ocean. And I really, like, that's when I connect with nature the most. That's when I feel the most expansive. I get so high vibe when I'm down there. And not that I don't tune into, a higher vibration, like, all the time, right? Because I mean, we're always like, I'm always like focusing there, but it's so easy in the ocean for me. I just walk in the water. And so I had this image of being, in the ocean, and I was thinking, this is where I feel the most free. And when I sat with that for a minute, the next thought was, oh my gosh, even though I envision that being in the ocean is where I feel most free, when I'm in the ocean for real, while I'm feeling free, I'm also protecting. I'm a little bit scared. And I feel that I'm protecting I'm a little bit tight because the waves are like going, because we're usually on the Atlantic Ocean and the waves are like crashing. And I'm a little bit tight, and I get a little worried. And if my husband goes out a little too far, I get a little like I want to rein him back in because I don't know what I think is going to happen. But like I start to feel unsafe. And right then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm not merging with the ocean. I'm keeping myself in a box in the ocean. So I feel like I've got freedom, but do I really? No. I've got this protective, invisible box around me, and I'm staying in it. And so I started to visualize that I was becoming not a drop in the ocean, but I was becoming the ocean. And I really just felt my energy expand out until I was ocean. And then I was directed to think about my business. And I started to see that the more I merged with the ocean, the more people were like in the ocean coming like with me, if you know what I mean. It was a really weird, like crazy thing, but that's where I just felt so, not certain is not the right word, but it felt clear and easy to me that there's this merging of what into what we want. Like I like really merge into the freedom, Jill. I wasn't really merging into the freedom even in the ocean. But when I emerged into the freedom of it by expanding into the ocean, that's when I was truly free. And what I think is so cool is last night I was reading in my book and I was thinking about today's session. And there was this great quote by Rumi at the start of one of the chapters. Let me just get it back up here for you. And it reminds me of my ocean thing, but it's very specific to merging with what we want, I think. So it says, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. And I think that if we can see merging with what we want in that way, that everything we want is already in us. It's there. If you can want it, it's there. And you can just accept that. You've merged with it. Like it's, and I think that's what was happening in that visualization I had, is that when I allowed myself to be free and to fully merge into the ocean, I was the ocean. I was the whole ocean. So I think it's no mistake that I haven't picked up this book. I've had it for, I think, 2 years. I haven't picked it up. And I just scrolling through my library, I'm like, oh, let me start to read that. And boom. Yeah, right. So last thing I want to share, and I see we've gone an hour and we will go after this, is I said the secret. Like, what's that little secret that like in the physical can help you merge? And this is the secret that I use with the weather. And it works every time. It really, really works. And I've talked about this too. I talked about this last week. So this is going to be a surprise. It's pretty basic, but let's not underestimate it. Literally, the secret, I think, of merging with what you want is gratitude. It's allowing your whole self, your whole energy system, your whole body, everything, to be in complete gratitude for having that thing in your life now. That's, for me, the easiest path to take ownership, is to be grateful that I have it. And it's not a lie, because if you can tune into it and desire it, you already do have it. So it's being grateful. That's when it was given to you. In the moment you have the desire, you were just gifted that thing from the divine. And so when you can feel grateful for it, then in that moment, I feel like that really kind of creates that merging effect in a pretty powerful way. So it's something to play with. I talk about the weather because I started playing with it with the weather. And if I could stick with my gratitude, despite what it looked like outside, I was manifesting exactly the kind of weather I want. And, I won't share this now. I won't take the time, but I'll send this to you in a link because I made a video of it because a few people were asking me about it. But the first time I ever successfully manifested weather, it was when we were going to go to a Cubs game. So I'm going to share the link. I think it's like 8 or 10 minutes. I talk about exactly how I did it and what was happening outside and then what happened. And since that time, I've done it multiple times. And if I put my intention, I can do it. So I just want to share that with you as well, so that you can maybe see, oh, okay, so how can I take that same idea and do it with whatever the thing is that you want? Okay. So any questions?
I have a question, Jill.
Yeah.
In imagining this desire, because sometimes, it's for whatever is the best way it can manifest. So I can see myself getting confused between a specific thing I want versus the desire, because I don't want, if I get caught in that idea, it may not manifest that way. So when you're feeling the gratitude, can you talk a little bit more about keeping that distinction?
Yeah. So first of all, it's not, you don't want to mix up the how and what you want. So you're not thinking about how at all, because it really, that's God, that's the divine. That's not your job. We've talked about that. So, well, okay. So with the Cubs game deal, okay, so two things. It was dark, the thickest, darkest clouds that you could ever imagine. I mean, there was no pops of even lighter white clouds. Like, it was dark. It was dark. And we're about to go, and all morning and for a week, my husband's like, oh, it doesn't look good for the Cubs game on Saturday. Constantly having the drum of it. This doesn't look good. The weather reports. And I'm like, oh, it's a week off. It's going to be fine. He's like, I don't know. And it's like 2 days, he's beating the same drum. Oh, weather's still saying, it looks pretty bad. I think it's going to rain and storm on our Cubs game. And this was a deep desire. It sounds silly, but we go to like 1 or 2 Cubs games a year, and it's such a beloved family treasure, because the ballpark is so great. We walk to it and we just have a lovely day. And when we do it, it's always sunny and clear and gorgeous. And it's just, that adds to the joy for me. So the thought of it being like cloudy and horrible and rainy just was not acceptable. It's unacceptable. So I just lost my train of thought. So anyways, all signs were it's not happening. Now, what was my desire? I wasn't dictating how this needs to happen. I wasn't dictating that, well, it has to, happen at this time, and it has to look like this, and it has to be done in this way, and I have to feel this certain way. I was just saying, what is that feeling that I get when I'm sitting at a Cubs game with my family and it's a gorgeous day? And that's what I tuned into, is what it's like when I'm there and I all the pieces are in place. And I felt into that. And I can tune into it just like that. I just tuned into it now again. It is such a good feeling. And the minute I tuned into it, I expressed gratitude. Oh, thank you so much. This is just, I love this. This is so great. This is heaven. This is so great. I'm so happy. This feels so, so good. So I kept coming back to that. The moment when I'm there and it's the way, I don't know how it happened, but it did. And I kid you not, 30 minutes before we were going, I come upstairs, I look outside, it is dark clouds. And I'm like, nope, I know. I am so grateful. I know that above Wrigley Field, it's going to be blue skies and sunny. And I'm kind of thinking, this is crazy, Jill. But I just knew I kept feeling that feeling, having the gratitude. And then we go there. It's cloudy when we went, but it wasn't raining. We're at the game. No sooner do we sit down, and the clouds parted above Wrigley Field. And I am not making this up. They parted. It was blue. There was some sun up there. There wasn't sun back there, but right above Wrigley Field where we were sitting, I saw the vision that I was feeling into. And that's all I cared about. And I think later on, it got cloudy again or whatever. I didn't care. That was that feeling that I was so grateful. And that's what I experienced. So the second part, okay, so you tune into just when you're there. What is it like when you're there? What are you feeling? That's the first part. Second part is, and I always do this too, this is really important, this or something better. Because we only know, our consciousness is only so big. God's is massive. Ours is only so big. So at least in this physical realm. Beyond this physical realm, it's much bigger, but we don't get it. We have to build up to that, get access to that level of awareness. So it's as big as it is at this point. And so there might be something even greater that I'm not thinking of that is going to be even more amazing than what I'm desiring right now. So if you leave the door open for that more amazing thing, that also allows you to detach. And detachment is a really important part of manifesting. And that way, when I went to the game, and I never had the thought, what if it doesn't happen? I never, ever once thought that. I said, it is happening. This is what it is, this or something better. And so I knew that if it didn't happen, what was happening was better. It was better. And I trusted that. That's the voice of trust. I trust it. So I don't know, did that help at all, Lee?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And Jill, do you really say that in your head, this or something better? Because I've said that a couple times, but it almost feels like this or something better in my feeling tone negates that, oh wow, this is so great because I got this sunny day at whatever. It almost is like, well, it won't happen, so maybe something else. I don't like the way that has felt to like say it, or maybe there's another way to just kind of know it or something. But I was also going to say, when my daughter was here, we went to the beach and it was rainy everywhere, the whole of Oregon. And everybody said, oh, John didn't even want to go. And Shelby was like, why are we going to the beach if it's going to rain? And I was like, no, on Monday, when we wake up, it's going to be nice. It's going to, it's been really rainy here. Anyway, Monday was nice. So I just never accepted that it would be any other option.
Yeah.
But I never said this or something better. And I'm cautious about that because it feels like that's a way for me to like a cop out for myself that, well, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And so if it's a cop out for you, then you don't want to say that.
Okay.
Because then your energy is not staying where it needs to stay. I can say that and my energy stays where it needs to be because I get a little excited, like, ooh, like there must be even something better than this. This is like amazing. So I know it can only be right. I know it can only be this or, this amazing or even amazinger. So I can say, but don't say those words if they give you that feeling. Yeah, I agree with that.
If I'm going to say that I'm like this new goal is to fill my group this summer with 8 people, then I wouldn't say, well, 8 or 9 or 7 or 8, or I don't want to be wishy-washy with, oh, well, then maybe more, and 8 seems like a lot to me because I haven't had a group of more than 4 before. So, I kind of want to play with that, but I don't want to have it be too wishy-washy or too scared feeling like, oh, well, it can't be 8, so maybe it'll be 2. That's the stuff that goes on in my head.
Yeah.
I've started all this. I've picked a date. I'm kind of, I don't want to say kind of, I am committed to it. I'm stepping into that identity and that reality. So I kind of want to say or feel, 8. I got 8 people in my group.
Yeah. Yeah. What I suggest with that is you figure out what is your bare minimum. And I mean, that would bring you joyful. And it's like, it's not less than this. So if that's 8, then it's not less than 8. So it's 8. Okay. And if it's more, great. But 8 is, you don't stop till you get to 8.
Okay.
And that's really the key. You don't. So like, even when it was 30 minutes before the game and I had been hearing all week from my husband how horrible it was going to be, I didn't stop 30 minutes before because it was still black clouds. You don't stop in the 11th hour because it doesn't look like it's going to be that way. That is where we screw ourselves up every time. You don't stop. That's not having trust. That is not trusting yourself, and that is not trusting God, source, universe. Going back to the voice of trust. Trust means you don't stop because you've made this decision. And, this happened to me. This was a few years ago. I had decided to up how much I make a month. And I mean, before then, I could never decide how much I wanted to make a month and make it maybe for 1 month, that's it. And so I upped it. I didn't get crazy with it, but I wanted it to be, there was a certain bottom where I'm like, no, I'm not taking anything less than this every month. And I decided it, and there's like 3 days left till the end of the month. And I'd been promoting a program, and I was very, very close to my number to where I could have said, what? Because I had made more than I had made other months. So that felt good. So I could have stopped, right, and said, well, this is good enough, right? But that's settling. And I decided, and if I had gone back on my decision, that's not trusting myself, because then I let myself off the hook. So like you were saying, Julie, if you did this or something better, then you let yourself off the hook. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do that. So I'm like, okay, I got 3 days left. We're getting to this. I'm so close. I'm getting there. So I stayed open to the possibility. To Lee's point, there's still 3 days, So I'm open to the possibility. And because I was open to the possibility and wasn't already starting to wind down in my mind, like, it's probably not going to happen, I got a different kind of idea that I wouldn't have gotten if I was thinking that's probably not going to happen. So I can't remember what the idea is now, but whatever it was, I took action on it immediately. We talked about that last week. Take action immediately on your ideas, or you probably aren't going to do them. So I took this immediate action, and I got the result. I think I got $3 over what I said was going to be my bottom. That would not have happened if I would have stopped 3 days before my deadline. So you just don't let yourself off the hook. And and then the thing is, like, people say, when's it going to get easier? But the thing is, when you start manifesting the things that you want, it's kind of like that fuels you. Like it even though you're still doing stuff that might feel a little bit scary and a little bit outside the box, you're excited because it's working, so it's like it kind of keeps you going. It's a lot harder to be broke and scared and lacking confidence and clarity. And I mean, that is way harder, but we sit there and act like, well, that's too hard to do. No, it's hard what you're doing right now. That's not easy either. So anyways, any other comments?
We are meeting these next weeks, right? I had it down. Okay.
Yeah, so this Thursday we have coaching. And then we have training the next 21st, the next 2 weeks, training Tuesday. And then the 30th, we have our celebration call. So so this week's our last coaching call. And then the 30th, we have our celebration call. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So good to see you all. Well, I knew I shouldn't have said this was going to be a shorter training. I should never say that, because it never is. But I like our good sharing. So I thank you for everything that everybody shared. All right.
Always helpful. Thank you.
Nice to be with everyone. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.